Welcome to the Life Legacy Leadership Podcast. Today's guest is Callie, better known as Callie.
Heyo.
And just to let you tell you a little bit about Callie. Callie she is a legacy counselor, which means this is her 4th summer, and she has spent all 4 summers in the first aid.
Yep, best place to be.
That is the best place to be. She is from Louisiana, specifically where?
Natchitoches. Woo!
Natchitoches. She's a part of that big squad of the Natchitoches squad. You were kind of the front end of that squad, right? Mm-hmm. Kind of the Dane.
Yes, I'm a year older than Dane.
Okay.
So it's like all of our brothers and sisters came early because it was like the Cade McConaughey era.
Oh,
and then there was like my older sister and all that. And then it was us and Jet and Kinsey and Jensen to like.
Okay. All right. I want to get into all that. I want to get into how you got here and who you, but before we do, we have to play a game.
Okay.
Have you seen the podcast? Do
yes.
you know that we play games?
Is it bad that I've been practicing?
No, that's even better.
Yeah.
That's even better.
I was like, I have to beat someone. I can't be on the bottom of the leaderboard.
Oh, you cannot. That's exactly right. That would be bad. Okay, so we're going to go. So you've been practicing. You know, I don't even need to talk about the 3 categories. You know the 3 categories. All right, songs, cabins, and activities. All right, she is ready. You have 30 seconds, and it starts now.
Broncos, Morgans, Mavericks, Apples, Buckskins, Clydesdales, Pacers, Walkers, Hackneys, Mustangs, Lipizans, Pintos, Thoroughbreds, Pertrons, Arabians, Bays, Roans, Blazers, Phillies, Chestnuts, Galicinos, Pearls, Big Lake, Water Rides, Casting and Fishing, Go-Karts, Archery, Riflery, Wakeboarding, Quest, Hodgepodge, Basketball, Stunts and Tumbling, Frog Song, Quickwickwani, Bamboo Song, Mrs. Shady.
Is that it? Do we have a new leader?
Wait, what?
I think we have a new leader,
No
Callie.
way. Oh, the practice helped.
Oh my gosh. I unofficially had her at 37. You have her at 36. Either way, even if you're at 35, you're the leader. Can we show the old leaderboard? It has Anna Waller up there. You have taken over from Anna Waller. All right. I absolutely love that. All right. Hey, guys, y'all got to take a picture here of our podcast. Tyler always does that. Austin, if you'll just take a picture of us doing the podcast, and then I'm going to post it later that we have a new leader in the game, and you can just throw that phone back to me when you get done. So we're just talking. So they're just taking a picture of us talking.
Got you.
Okay, so amazing. Sorry, I did not expect.
I prepared so much for that. It's really bad, but I did.
No, but that's what I want. That's cool. That means you listen to the podcast. That means you are into this thing here.
Oh, I love them.
Okay, so tell us, give us a history lesson. How did you get to Brookhill? Who is Callie?
Okay, so I came, my very first year was 2012. So I was a camper for 4 years. And my older sisters, so we're from Natchitoches, small town, but we used to be the week 7 crew, Camp 7. But now that it turned into the 2-week, we're a Camp 6 crew.
Okay.
So everyone comes to Camp 6. But my older sisters came, like Cade McConaughey was a little bit older than my sister. So then she came, she was a JC, and then I came to camp, absolutely loved it. I tell everyone that I was kind of like the creepy camper, not the creepy camper, but I was the camper who just was obsessed with my senior counselors because I was like, they're so cool and absolutely everything they do. So I was the one who like would sit in the bunkhouse and just stare. Like nothing really came out of my mouth, but I would just stare because I was just so fascinated with them and I just wanted to be just like them. So my first year as a camper, I actually had a massive nosebleed in the middle of the night and like woke up with like blood all over my face. And my poor senior counselor was like, "What is wrong with you?" And I was like, "Nothing." And then I like got all cleaned up, which is kind of foreshadowing now that I deal with nosebleeds all the time.
Nosebleeds have a special place in your heart.
Oh, they do. They're up there. Throw up and nosebleeds go hand in hand for me. But yeah, so like my sister came and then I came with a few of my best friends. And then we graduated together. But she only JC'd 1 summer. So when I came back to JC my second summer, I was like, okay, so now I had to like really branch out and really meet a lot of people. But I did, and camp is so good at like connecting you, whether you're a camper or whether you're a JC. You feel connected with so many people because either you're in the trenches as a JC or you're just loving life as a camper. So like I was always connected to something here.
I love that. Do you remember who your first counselor was?
My first counselor, I know she has a new last name, but it was in the Lipizzans, and it was like Mary Kate.
Yeah, Mary Kate Fortson?
Yes.
No way.
I had her sign my glasses, my Brookhill glasses.
Okay. I did not know that you would go all the way back to Mary Kate Fortson. That is incredible. What year was that?
I thought it was 2012. Maybe
2012.
Yeah.
Okay. So was Steve Sexton still here? Do you remember him?
I think so. I have a really bad memory, which is kind of terrible.
That's okay.
But I think so.
He's not that memorable. It's not your memory. It's him.
Oh, I didn't say that. That's you, not me.
I'll say it to him. I'll say it to his face. No, I like to mess with Steve. Okay, so cool. And can you remember along the line, like if you're staring at these counselors, who were they?
Oh, I was so obsessed with Laura Saunier. She was literally like walking sunshine.
She was the sweetest person. We love Laura.
Exactly. So I literally would just stare at her and like would love to be around her and everything like that. Loves Laura Saunier. I had a Randy in the Lipizzans, and I was obsessed with her too. So just staring at all of them. Laura Brinkley.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of some more. But yeah, I had all of like that era where they were like so iconic, where you were like, oh my gosh, I could never be them.
Yes.
But yeah, I think Laura Saunier was the person who like I wanted to be most like I just wanted to be like sunshine, and she was. So I was like, oh my gosh, I want to be her. I want to be on staff. And
I can't wait to have some of them on the podcast. You know, we have a list a mile long of alumni. So. You know, we always try and rotate current staff with former staff. You know, it's kind of how we do what we do in our, you know, of course, current staff always is a limited number of what we have here, and then former staff is just a list a mile long. So we want to get all those. Those are great people. Where did you graduate from? What cabin did you graduate?
I graduated out of the Phillies with Kelsey Kimpson. And then when I was a first year JC, I was back in the Phillies. So we did that. You know how like we try to organize that this way, and then we did it for me, and it was everything. So I was like,
oh, so you were back in there with Kelsey.
Mm-hmm.
That is
in
everything.
The Phillies.
We try and do that. That is something we have really majored on. Maybe the last couple of summers. This summer for sure, we're trying. And I know we haven't done it right every time, but we are so trying to do that.
Mm-hmm. It changes so much because like you see them as like, you know, you always look up to them as a counselor, but then you're like working alongside them, like connecting with kids and doing things like that. And you're like, oh my gosh, like they love me on a deeper level other than like, you know, you're a camper and we love you because you're a camper, but it's like more like I'm working alongside you, I'm doing ministry with you, and it's so cool to do that. Like Kelsey Kimpson was another one that I was, you know, secretly obsessed with. So like it's so cool to have that ability to do that next to her and like learn so much from her.
I love that. Yeah, I did that with my graduate. I graduated out of the Broncos. Then I got to JC in Simon's cabin, and of course, you know, now Simon's one of my buddies. Of course, Simon spoke in staff, staff meeting early in the summer, and you know, Simon he said, I advocated, I wanted you in my bunkhouse, and see, that's what your counselor will do when you graduate out of their bunkhouse. They're your advocate, and you need that first summer.
100%.
You need an advocate, right? You need someone to do that for you. Okay, so you say I'm obsessed with the counselor. Okay, and obviously it's really funny. But what does that mean? You know, what did they? You know, what was it for you that just you were drawn to something about them? What was it that just them being counselors did for you? Why was Brookhill so important for you as a camper?
Yeah, as a kid, I was really quiet. And so I would always, you know, not really talk. So my counselors were probably so frustrated with me. They were like, I can't crack her. Like, she doesn't like me. And I was like, no, I love you so much, but you just don't know. But it really helped me come out of my shell. Like, as a kid, I was just so quiet. And I just saw like the energy they had was just so like pure joy, like that comes from the Lord. And I think I just hadn't been around that like in my school and like in like the town that I grew up with my friends, you know, like, so seeing them have like the joy of the Lord, and I was like, I want to do that. Like, that's what the kind of person I want to be. And so like, it brought me out of my shell, and I was like, oh, I can be this spontaneous, crazy, happy person. And I don't have to like rely on others. Like, I can just have that joy from the Lord once I spend that time with him. And I think that was a big one too. It's like, in my upbringing, it wasn't very much like, you know, we didn't pray between meals. Like, we kind of like kept our prayer life very like close to our chest, if that makes sense. So like seeing the counselors like openly pray and like openly show how they spend time in the Word, show how they, connect with the Father. That was a big thing for me because I was like, wait, I can do this on my own. Like I don't have to do it in a church setting, or I don't have to do it in like a very formal setting. Like it can just be me getting ready for the day, and I can just, talk to God as I'm getting ready, or like put all the worries I have on my chest on Him. And so that was a really big thing for me, was seeing how they show the love of the Father, but then also how they give back and give everything back to Him, because He's the one who gives them the joy and gives them who they are.
Several things that you said there I'd like for us to talk about. The first is, just like what you're saying, here's these college students who love Jesus. And as a kid, you don't know if they're real or not, or if they're just doing a job. Now you do, being on this staff, you mean this side of staff. I mean, you really do love Jesus. You really are just being yourself, right?
Yeah.
But as a kid, you assume, I mean, this person really, and I don't know that I've seen someone that young, right? I mean, you see your pastor, or you see a mentor at church or whatever that loves Jesus, or is supposed to love Jesus, right? Or says they do. But here you really have these young people, college, that you don't really see because they're off at college, right? College students aren't in your church typically, unless you're in a college town.
Oh, exactly.
Because they're off in college. And then they come back, these married people, but you don't see these college age. So was that a big deal for you?
Oh, 100%. I think, in like all the movies and everything, you see like the crazy college kids and all that. And it was so cool to know that like a college kid wanted to get to know me as like a sixth grader, Like it's that tug on your heart where you're like, oh my gosh, like the worth that they've instilled in me, like now that I'm on staff, I can instill to others, is so, so important. Because, like you said, you go to church with your family and it's like old people and their children. And that's it. And that's
it's kids and adults.
Exactly.
But these weird, where are these people from, right?
They're like hybrids.
Where did they get these people from? They're kind of young, but they're kind of old, but not that old. Yeah. It's weird.
They like have the life experiences too that they've learned so much from, and that they can talk to you about. It's so cool.
And I'm not too far from them.
Yeah.
Right. When you're a camper, it's like, I'm going to be them in a few years. You see an adult at church, it's like, I'm going to be them in a lot of years.
That's when you think, oh my gosh, I need to get my life together.
That's right.
But then like all my counselors showed me the fact that it's like, you don't have to have everything together, whether it was a JC or whether it's a camper. Because as a JC, you're in high school and there's so much going around where you're like, oh my gosh, I want to fit in. Oh my gosh, I want to do good in sports. And like, they showed you that it's okay. Like things take time, and that like, it builds you up stronger the more things you've been through. And so many of them, like once you're a JC, you have those nights where you sit out on the porch and and they're like, hey, tell me about your life. And you're like, oh, like I'm going through this. And they're like, and they have such good advice because they've been there and they've beat it and they're on the other side of it and they can look back at it. And so that was everything as a JC, is getting that one-on-one time with your counselor where they could be like, okay, like, are you okay? Is there something you need to talk about? Because around your campers, you're up and going and crazy and, you wouldn't notice. But like, the ability of the senior counselors who like took the time to notice in me and be like, hey, what's really going on with you? How are you actually doing? How's home? Like that means a lot too.
I think we're all drawn to places where we matter.
Of course.
And they basically were saying, Callie, you matter.
Yeah, 100%.
Not just the whole bunkhouse. You matter. And I think, I don't care who you are, as an adult, like I tell Melissa, there's certain restaurants I go to because the owner is working the register and he talks to me, right?
It's
and
so
I'm
cool.
Like hibachi. I go up there, we laugh about that. But Eddie, he's there. And when I think everybody wants to feel like they're a VIP.
So true. Yeah.
Like they're special, right? And even though you're not, it's just a good leader of some, and I think we've talked about this all the time. Customer service is going to be the new superpower in our world. Chick-fil-A has proved that. That they can be open 6 days a week and be better than the people open 7 days a week simply because they value their customers. And that's what the counselors were saying. They're saying, I value you. And so you wanted to be here. So what is that? Is that just everything for you as a kid?
Oh, so much. And And I think it was weird because it's not like, I had a great family, great parents,
Absolutely. No, it's not discounting them.
And so it was like just something like I think in today's world of like growing up as a kid, you just don't hear those words of like, you have value, like you are strong enough for anything you're going through. And it just meant so much because you look up to them and you're like, oh my gosh, I could never be them. But then you're like, wait, they're sitting here, they're investing in me when they could be doing anything else with their summer. So it really changed my outlook on a lot because I was like, wait, I have worth. But they weren't saying that like you have worth because you're you. They're saying you have worth because Jesus died for you and gives you that worth, like gives you that courage to step out and be who you really are.
I think with family, there's two ways you can look at it. If you, like you had a good family.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think for kids, it's like, well, they're supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
But other people outside my family value me.
Yeah, so true.
Then you have the other side. If you don't feel valued by your family, you have that need. I think either way, my point is either way, you need to be validated.
So true. Yeah.
If you don't get it from your family, you need someone to value you.
Mm-hmm.
If you do, you need someone outside of your family because you're like, oh, well, they're supposed to.
Yeah.
Right.
No, exactly.
Mom always is supposed to love me. Dad,
Yeah.
I think that is how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I think that is a super, super important thing for someone to notice you.
Mm-hmm.
And then, another thing, as we were, another great point that you brought out is you could be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And these counselors allowed you to be yourself. And I think possibly you were quiet because you were worried that people wouldn't accept you.
Oh, 100%.
As yourself.
Yeah.
And here's these counselors just being themselves.
Goofy, crazy, so fun. Yeah. No, exactly. And like, I think it's hard being a shy kid because you want to join the conversation. You want to say something, but it's like that, like, oh, what are people going to think if I join in and say this? Or what are people going to say if I joke about this, And it's so cool. Like, even growing up, the counselors that drew my eye were the ones who were themselves. And like, even nowadays, like, I love people like Aiden. Like, Aiden is so himself. And that's what's so crazy. And like, Neely, Levia, Maddie, Julia, Anna, Waller, like, they're all my best friends because I look up to them. And they can also make me grow because they're so themselves. And that allows me, you're the top 5 people you hang around. So all my great friends that I love so dearly, like, they exhibit themselves and like the joy of the Lord in everything they do, whether they're being goofy, whether they're being weird, or whether they're being serious and getting work done. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And the fun thing about the counselors you named is they're all different.
Mm-hmm.
Laura is more quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And you're more quiet.
Yeah.
But you didn't just love the quiet ones.
Mm-hmm.
You loved all of them because they were authentic.
Yes. So true.
Gosh, that just to be fake and to put on a mask, we feel like we have to do that to be accepted.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's so freeing when you can get around people who don't have to be fake.
Mm-hmm.
They can just be themselves, the mature version of themselves.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
This is not a license to be the immature version, unhealthy version. I just who I am. I'm being myself.
Yeah.
I think that can be taken in the wrong context.
Oh, of course.
Mm-hmm. But you're a little quieter, and yet you fit in perfectly on the staff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that had to have been encouraging to you.
Oh, 100%. I think staff is really cool. Like, once you become an all summer, like, you're around literally the most like just top of the line people. Like, there's no other place where you're going to work with the same people who have the same integrity as you, the same people who have the same work ethic. Like, there's nothing that beats it. And so being on all summer, like, it's so true whenever y'all or admin are like plug into staff. And that's what you have to do. You have to be there on the weekends because you miss those moments that you create and that make the lifetime friendships. Like, coming on to all summer, I really only knew like Chloe Lane and Julia I was third year JCs with. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm on staff, I'm meeting everyone. And then like the friendships that I built living next to Neely, like an arm's length away, we became best friends. And then like later that December, we all went to Disney together. Like, like we built that time, those seconds of just working together and doing ministry, being in the trenches, like whatever it was, like birthed such beautiful, like Christ-given friendships that like will last with me forever. So
I love that. That is so powerful. So your view of the counselors is it's so big. So, and I say you, the campers.
Mm-hmm.
So then how important is it as a counselor, now that you're wearing the red T-shirt, of every word you say to these JCs, campers, right?
Oh, yeah. It's so true.
Because it carries so much weight.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's my favorite part about being first aid is like you're first aid for everyone. Yes, you're for the campers, but you're also for JCs and all summer. And I think it's really cool to be able to be that person and to speak life into every situation. And that's my favorite part about first aid is someone could be having a terrible experience and they could be just, either sick or just not feeling well or anything like that. But you're telling them that they have worth. You're speaking life into their situations and you're kind of just slowing it down for them because camp can be so fun and crazy and just full on sprinting, 24/7. And it's cool to just like take that time with them and be like, hey, like you're important enough to have rest. Like you're important enough to spend time with us. You don't have to, we're not like shipping you out to like go to your activity. You're fine. We're spending that time with them knowing that they're worthy of this time to take care of themselves. And I think that's my favorite part about first aid is being able to speak life into those situations and just change the experience that they're having into a positive one.
Yeah, let's talk about first aid for a second.
Yeah.
You have been here, so you're a legacy counselor this summer. Love
Crazy.
that. Crazy. Legacy in the first aid, and you join a incredible, the legacy first aid quite possibly could be better than legacy cabin or anything.
I think it is. Personally, I might be biased, but I think it is.
I mean, and I wish you could know all the first aid people. You don't know Beth Carter. Mm-hmm. Elizabeth, Yoakum Pulley, whatever we want to go by there. The Katie Beths of the world.
Iconic.
Merritt, I'm trying to think. Gosh, there's so many. Heidi Anderson DeCorn, which you did get to know Heidi. She did staff meeting. Oh gosh, now I start naming people. People are going to be mad at me if I don't name their name.
Yeah.
I'm not an iconic first aid counselor. I don't have the list in front of me. Sorry. Jadine Stricker. And Jadine's not somebody she's somebody I worked with, for a long, long time. Anyway, Keller's mom, Kristen Cox was
so cool.
Yeah, she was one of the first, but just incredible people, and you're now one of them.
Yeah, it's so cool.
It's cool.
It's so awesome.
You're now in that conversation.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love like when we're at meeting or like when we're at encouragement or things like that, and you always see the baton and everyone holding it. So like every time I kind of like nerd out whenever there's like a first aid counselor who like comes to talk, because I'm like, I go up and I'm like, hi, I'm Callie. Like you probably don't know who I am, but I'm first aid, and it's like so cool to meet you. Like I feel, like because they've been through exactly what you've been through.
Absolutely.
And then it's really cool to see the changes. Like my favorite thing is to talk to them and be like, pick their brain about, oh, what did you do for this? Or what did you do for this? And then I tell them what we're doing and they're like, what? That's so amazing. But it's like the little nerding out of like, oh my gosh, I get to meet, an icon of their time at camp. And like, it's just so cool. Like there's no words to explain what it's like, but it's everything.
Oh, I love that. And so, one of the cool things for you, yes, you're a legacy counselor, but you got here in 2020.
Mm-hmm. What a year.
Like, Gal, you're going to be your first aid in 2020. And, of course, we brought a nurse on at that time because we felt like we had to have that.
Of course.
Kendall Greer, now Kendall. Oh, my gosh.
Shepherd.
Thank you. Good save. She's now a nurse. She's mom, but she's now a nurse.
Yep.
So you got Kendall, who was in there with you. Neely was in there. So was it you, Neely, Kendall, Maddie Adkins?
Yep.
And then Leanne. I mean, we threw 5 of y'all at this thing. It was stacked.
Mm-hmm.
But it had to be.
Yo, 100%.
But here's what's cool. That was the beginning of our new medical kind of what we have. Tell me, what are some of the things that we have kind of upgraded to now? Like,
yeah. So one really big thing is like medication and how we hand it out, because, it used to be in the little Dixie cups with like Trevor T, and you're like, okay, how many Trevor T's are there?
Right.
Because trying to figure it out. But it's really cool. We went through.
Sorry to interrupt, but back when we were 200 campers, that Trevor T was fine.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
exactly.
Things that worked back 10 years ago don't work anymore. Right?
So true.
So sorry, keep going. Yeah.
And so in 2020 and 2021, we switched to like pill packs where like the parents would drop it off, tell us when they want to take them, and we would like individually fill them, which was so like literally eye opening. Like even Kenny G was like, what is this? This is incredible. Because she's like, I don't have to worry about cups and doing that. Like, it was set for the whole week. It said breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and you just knock it out and you're good to go. And then this year we've even evolved to the parents packing it so that they literally drop off the medicine for the whole week, and we just, open the AM and give it to them. And it's like worked well with efficiency, but then also like works well with keeping kids safe and making sure medicine's never missed or kids never missed, which is super, super important. But it's cool to see the growth, like to be here for so long, to see where it started out, the growth, and then the even better efficiency that we were able to make it.
Oh, even things from medical parent medical pickup and all that kind of stuff. It looks so good. It looks like a pharmacy back there. Oh,
it's so cool. I love it. We got new little racks, like clothing racks. So we literally pull the baggie off, we open it up, and we give it to the parents. And it's like so much easier. We used to like dig through like bins that said Broncos, but now it's like, it's so beautiful. And I'm excited to see where it takes it, like where it goes after me.
Absolutely. Because, that's our goal here is, something that was that is a bad idea now was once a good idea, and sometimes I heard this from Craig Rochelle, Leadership, because this is a leadership podcast. We're going to talk about it. He said, sometimes you got to throw a bad idea out there to hunt down a good idea, right? You got to get some direction going. And you can never be satisfied with where you're at. And I know that is our Brookhill motto is to continue, because if you're not growing, you're dying.
Exactly.
It's to continue to grow. And so you've experienced that, in your time here. And I think it's amazing, what you guys have done with the first aid.
It's very cool.
I mean, and of course, people like the Beth Carters and the Katie Bests, they're like, I did it by myself.
I have no idea how they did that.
Once again, 200 campers, right? Once again, and now you're looking at like, almost 450 plus staff. And so, I mean, that's just a big difference.
Oh, yeah.
And even in the day and time we live in. So, no, that's incredible. So let's talk about your major. Let's talk about, you came into this thing, you did first aid, and you were headed to be what?
I was going to be a surgeon.
Yes.
I really loved it, the idea. So
well, obviously it's an idea. You hadn't practiced that.
It was, not there yet. So that's good. But I attend the proud LSU University. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Yeah, as always. And when I started out, when I picked my major, you're 18 and you're trying to pick your major and you're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? And so I picked biology because I'm a big science nerd, like that through and through. Like I love science, I'm a little geek. But so I did that and, but I did that, for every semester, and it was weird because I felt a tug on my heart after every semester where it was like, oh, I don't know if this is our thing. But I was a little stubborn and I was like, no, like I just need to work harder. And so I did, and I would, I'd pull all-nighters. I would study constantly. And it would just, like either the grades weren't there or like what I needed to accomplish wasn't there. Like I was leaving out special parts of my life that I needed to be the person I am and to be healthy. And so it was really cool, but LSU has this program where you can also get teacher certified. So whether you're bio, physics, chemistry, anything like that. So I was like, okay, like I'll do that. Like my parents were like, why not a second option? Like you love kids, so like you could always do it. Well, so this last...
You love kids. You keep going back to that place.
They do. They're like, you're a camp counselor and you're like old and you're still a camp counselor. So why not do it? But yeah, and so I did it, and this last semester or 2 semesters ago is like really when you start preparing your portfolio and things like to like send out your resume for like med school and get your rec letters, things like that. Well, basically just everything kind of fell through at the point, and it was definitely a low for me. Like a lot of things were just not going my way, like but you could tell that it was more of like me being prideful in the fact of like, no, I'm gonna keep going in this thing that I'm not being successful and I'm not growing. But because I want to be prideful and I want to be, this is my goal, it really took God breaking the pride in me and being like, hey, this is your dream, but this is not my dream for you. And so it really took like that span of time, like, but probably between fall and spring, where he was like, you got to notice what I'm doing in your life.
See, that's it.
Exactly.
Because it probably seemed like failure to you.
Oh, 100%.
Right? Mm-hmm. And so it's like, I'm failing, instead of God was like, no. I'm trying to help you not go in the wrong direction here. I've got something for you that's bigger, and it's the way I've made you.
100%. I think it's really cool. And there's so much that happened this spring semester that I was like, okay, God, oh, there it is again. Okay, you're right. I'm giving it to you. Because he set me up at a great school. My mentor teacher is incredible. She is so awesome. And she's helping me prepare my classroom this fall since I'm here during the summer. But he set me up with so many successes this year, which everything I did at school was from camp because, all the kids I'm with every day are coming from really hard backgrounds where they're the ones waking themselves up and their siblings up. They're getting to school, a lot of behavioral issues just because they're not shown that love. And so this semester has been so eye-opening because as a counselor, you're just there to connect with kids and to love them. And I had so many of my kids when I first started doing teaching, they were like, Miss O, you just smile too much. You're just always smiling. Do you ever not smile? And I'm I love being here. I love being here with y'all. But so many of them had never heard them receiving love like that. So a lot of them would lash out sometimes. After, you're being so kind to them and checking on them, they would lash out because they're just not used to receiving that kind of love. And so it was so cool this semester because I love all my kids. I'm always going to remember them as my first student teaching class. But it was really cool getting to show them the love of the Lord, just through my actions and not, preaching or doing anything like that, but just being that different person in their school or a different person in their life that shows them the love, of the Lord and just happiness that they can achieve on their own. And so it was really cool, but everything was from camp, being first aid, being a counselor, just learning how to connect. And I think that's one of the most important things we do is, fun connection in Jesus. So bringing the fun, the connection in, and then them getting to know Jesus through me was just really, really cool.
That's amazing. I love that because that was Hetty's challenge to us. And of course, it's our challenge to you to build your own Brookhill.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what you're doing. It's not just come here and be awesome. It's no, this should be your foundation that you build on to be a connector with people because connecting with people works. Whether it's the hibachi that I go to, he makes you feel special, whatever, it works. And those kids need it.
It is so true.
Not everybody can get to Brookhill. Number one, we have a limited amount of spaces, right?
That too.
And number two, not everybody, they don't know about it or whatever, but they can know you and you can bring Brookhill to them.
Yeah.
And that can be absolute life changing. And then they're going to ask, why are you so different? And at some point it'll be Jesus,
Exactly.
That's cool.
It was an awesome moment. And it was so many things where it would be so evident where the principal would come up and be like, you have to teach here, because, they don't, it's hard to keep teachers in a school like that where you have, such headstrong kids.
Right.
But it's not because they want to be defiant. It's because they're just, they're yelled at when they're at home and then they come to the classroom and they have behavioral issues and then they're yelled at there, instead of pulling them outside and being like, hey, what's really up? I notice you're a great kid, but today is just not your day. Are you okay? And then they're like, oh, I had a death in the family. And, no one would know because they didn't take the time to check in on them. So it's really that connection that's so strong. And, the kids need it, But, yeah, so, the principal would come in and be like, what is going you're great. Please teach here, And so I'm teaching there this fall. So, and I'm excited because I'm in 6th grade. So not only because I student taught in 8th grade, so my kids all left. But not only do I get to be in their lives for 6th grade, but I get to see them in the hallways for 7th grade and 8th grade, and I get to see them grow. And I think that's going to be a really cool moment.
I agree.
Seeing them grow up and just see them become who they are.
So the school you're a part of, what is that considered? Is that middle school?
Middle school,
Middle
yes,
school,
sir.
And it's 6th through 8th?
Yes.
So we used to call it junior high. When did it change? I don't know.
I think it's interchangeable.
Okay.
Some people said that they had 5th grade in middle school, and I was like, what?
Yeah, that's elementary. Yeah, I don't know. Different everywhere else. No, but it is so important. In 6th grade, you could really, really shape them. But I think what we do is we're selfish. And even as leaders, we can be selfish. And what I mean by that is I need everybody to behave right.
Yeah.
or I'm going to yell at you to behave right. Instead of being like, okay, that misbehavior is a red flag screaming something's wrong here.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people, when you misbehave, you're unhealthy for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that there is a reason, and it's easier just to dismiss them as they're a problem child.
Yep.
Instead of the child is going through a problem.
Mm-hmm.
They are a problem child, but it's the child is going through a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not their parents. That's their parents' job to know that even deeper, but it's our job to have empathy for them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so easy selfishly to be like, I need all of y'all to quit acting up.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Instead of selflessly going, there's something wrong there.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. No, 100%. Like it's evident. Like when I started the school year, there was somewhere I'm like, oh my gosh, they're not on my page, or like they just don't like me. I just started out the school year, and because I was just new, I was coming into their classroom halfway through their year. So they're like, I don't like this girl. Like something's up with her. But it was really cool to see. Like I look back at the end of the year and I'm like, I got to know each and every one of them. I got to just walk around and like talk with them at recess, and they would like start to come up to me. And I was like, oh, here we go. But it was just that camp mentality of like, I'm not giving up on you. I know you're not on my page, but like I'm here for you. And so I'm going to keep pursuing you and keep showing you love. So it was really cool to see that growth of like, oh my gosh, like I'm an ally for them and not like an opponent that they have to get through, in school. So it was really cool seeing that.
And that's got to be different for them.
Mm-hmm.
They probably haven't had that anywhere else. And so you're going to be a magnet. They're going to be drawn to you because of that, because they literally probably don't get that anywhere else. And so it is going to be so powerful. And here's the cooler thing is if you don't just keep it in your classroom, if as you grow, right? Because so you've done the student teacher, right? You're starting this next year.
Yes, sir.
So this is going to be, and I would imagine at a school like that, the teachers they're there because they love the kids. Mm-hmm. Because you probably don't stay at a school like that if you're selfish.
Oh, exactly. And I mean, the 8th grade teachers were just so incredible. Like I always talk about the community of the school because it's so incredible. Because I would just be walking down the hallways and like the ELA teacher would come up to me and be like, "Hey, you're doing a great job. Like this kid talks about you in class," or like they do little encouragements or affirmations. So they would like hand me an affirmation. They were like, "Hey, this kid wrote you this one in this class. Like you're doing great." And they're all there for the kids, and it's so evident because they love them. Like, it's a hard job to be in, especially this day and age with like whether it's parents or whether it's curriculum, whatever based it is. Like the kids are the reason all the teachers are there, and it's so cool to learn from all of them. Like I would just go and sit in their classes for a few days and be like, okay, so this is how that, like just pick up little aspects from them. But they all love the kids so much. And that's what made me want to work there is like,
right.
Yeah, it can get hard. It can get difficult. But if I have that community of people who care about the kids like I do, like that's the place I need to be at.
Well, and hopefully some of the principles that you've learned of leadership, you'll be able to share with them as people go, hey, what are you doing in your classroom? Because it's not rocket science. You're just connecting with kids.
Literally.
But talking about behavior problems, I don't know if you heard, it was a couple years back, the school in Shreveport, where they had a lot of violence going on, and it was high school, right? A lot of fighting going on.
Yeah.
Did you hear about that and what they did to solve that problem?
I did not. I just knew that it did happen.
So you need to check into it. It's a really cool story. So, there was violence going on. I mean, people were literally fighting in the hallways, and a group of dads said, we're going to solve this problem.
Really?
And they got, I don't know how many it was, but they created a rotation where there was always a smaller group of the bigger group was always there.
Yeah.
And the dads, they got matching shirts. They started walking the
That is
hallways.
so cool.
They started doing dad jokes. They started fist bumping guys. Hey, get to class. People were late to class, but when the dads showed up, they weren't late to class anymore.
Yeah.
They told them, pay attention, do your homework, and they joked with them. They connected with them. They said the fighting stopped.
That is so incredible.
But just connecting with kids.
Yeah. Making them feel worthy, making them feel important.
It's no different than you walking into a cabin. and someone saying, and maybe at first, it was weird if you were new to that school. It'd be like, who are these dads? Like, stop joke. They'd roll their eyes at the jokes, but eventually it became like a family should, where I matter, where people care that I get to class on time. And it may be tough love at times, but it is love, and these dads literally changed the school.
That's so incredible. They crack like the hard exterior that they have to have, whatever they're having at home, like whatever they have, their armor on for, they could finally find a place where they don't have to be defensive of everything. They can be themselves and they can accept, the love that everyone's giving them and, the attention that they're also getting.
It's not as difficult as we think it is. It really is not. You can psychoanalyze it all you want, but it's hurting kids that need love. They need help.
Yeah.
And, and let's be honest, are they really going to learn if they're hurting, right? Are they really going to learn, until you solve that first part, right? Until they feel safe.
Exactly.
Their mind is going to be on all these other things. But, if they can get your classroom feel safe, they can number one, they're going to listen to you, right? Because you've created buy-in with them. And so I just think what you're doing is incredible. I can't wait to hear more about this next year in what God's doing in you.
Yeah. And I'm super excited. I've got all my classroom things set up.
Oh, are you one of those? It's going to be like all these themes and everything.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be pastel colors, everything. It's going to be cute, happy. All the guys are going to be like, what am I walking into? But I'm going to be like, you're going to love it at the end of the year. Don't worry.
Pastel colors. I love it. That is so you. Yeah. So I taught for a little while, but I was not so good with the classroom decorations. No,
that's okay.
I was the classroom decoration.
There you go. That's what matters. Connection.
I just brought in my jokes, but it was too difficult. I'm not artsy, but you're artsy.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not artsy at all. And okay, tell. Can we talk about this artsy? Can we talk about Friday nights?
We can let them in on the secret.
Okay, Callie has brought the coolest thing. Another change that happened. We started in the second grade. Other camps were starting in the second grade, and we thought, well, we can start in second grade. So we started bringing second graders in. Then we had to make some adjustments to what we do in order to make sure that younger group had their own unique experience. We were good with the olders and we wanted to be better with the youngers. And so we started doing some of these things. We did Friday nights where we split them in second through fourth graders, get to do a little different thing at the end of Friday nights after Carnival. And you started what on Friday nights?
I started balloon animals. First ever time balloon animals have come to Brookhill. The story behind that is actually so funny about how it actually got started and got rolling. But in 2020, me and Neely were just sitting down eating lunch one day, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to order some balloons, like to make balloon animals. And Neely's like, you can make balloon animals? And I was like, yeah. So I was like, ordered them. Yeah. Like, what do you mean? Like, it's hard? What? But so I ordered them and I made one for her and I was like, here you go. This is your dog. And she was like, thanks. What am I going to do with this? But then the next day she gets Stuart Berryhill, and she's like, Stu, you have to come see this. Like, Callie can make balloon animals. And he's like, what? Like, that's such a random thing to pull out. Well, so then he is like, wait, oh my gosh, this is great. Like, I'm doing competition results of who wins cabin cleanup, and we can do them in balloon animals. So the balloon animal that pops is the one that loses. And then that was probably on a Wednesday. And so then that night at girls' night, Lindley McMillan comes up to me and she's like, hey, I wanted to let you know, you're going to have a booth at Carnival night. You're going to do balloon animals at Carnival night. And I was like, what? Because I was like, oh, that's in 2 days. But it was cool. And the first time I did it was at Carnival night, and the kids just ate it up. They were like, what? I can just run around with a balloon sword and hit people with, or a dog. The girls always wanted the wiener dogs. The guys were the ones with the swords. You know what I mean?
Shocking.
I know. And then that next year is when we did it for Little's after party. And that is just the most fun, chaotic time of camp. Because it's really cool because, they need that time to just be little kids. They don't need to sit through
that's right.
Graduation, which is meant
some of the things that the older kids love.
For the older kids. Yeah. And so it's really cool to just see them be kids and be goofy and be weird. And they would just get all these types of balloon animals and just have sword fights, and they'd play with chalk. It was just so fun. And the joy of just giving them probably a 1-cent balloon that took 10 seconds for me to make. The joy on their face was just so worth it. But yeah, that is the story of balloon animals at Brookhill.
And of course, our deal.
Yes.
Our deal is you are not allowed to leave Brookhill until you've trained up other people to do, because it's your fault. You have made this a staple. Now we're synonymous with balloon animals, and we got to have people that can do balloon animals. Which you probably should teach Tyler or somebody so that he can then teach others.
Yeah.
That is the definite, because it's such a big deal for the kids. They love it.
Yeah.
It's so fun. Callie, your heart is amazing, and I just, you're from that Natchitoches group. You led the way. Then you had the Jensens and the Kinseys and the Jets and the ones to follow. And just so proud of your leadership and the legacy that you have here. In I think this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning as far as the teacher you're going to be, and just everything that you're going to be in your life. I can't wait to see. We'll have to have you on the podcast, 5 or 10 years back.
I can be on the alum list.
On the alum list, right?
There we go.
Yeah, so that you're not on this one, you're now on this one, and I can't wait to hear. Just about that leadership and just to teach us about what you do as a leader, because leadership doesn't stop. Leadership is not something you do at Brookhill. It's something you do everywhere.
Exactly.
So, Callie, so proud of what you've done. Thank you for being on the podcast. And I'm a big Callista fan. I know we call you Callie, but when I found out your name was Callista.
Everyone found out after you found out. You made it known.
I don't keep it quiet, So anyway, thank you, Callie, for being on the podcast. Life, Legacy, and Leadership with Callista Owsley.
It was a blast.
Miss O. That's what
I go by now.
I love it. Thanks for being.